be a great professional football player. He'll get in the weight room. He'll do an awful lot of different things that he wouldn't do 2 years before. Timmy Brown, I was there at the University of Notre Dame the third day of practice. I said, Timmy Brown is the best athlete I've seen, the most intelligent. That's not because I can evaluate talent, because I can evaluate athletes. It was so obvious. I mean, he's an outstanding talent. He's got awareness. He touched the ball 24 times the preceding year. I called him in. I said, Timmy, I think you have a chance to be a great one. I said, unless they intercept the snap from center, I'm going to get you the ball. May not be able to throw it to you, but we can hand it to you. We can do a variety of different things. But I said, I really want you to think in terms of greatness. I want you to set some goals. And Timmy Brown said one of his goals to make All-American. Now, you know what's amazing? He wasn't even All-State in high school. I got a call last night from Herschel Nissen. Herschel Nissen's with the AP. Is going to be released tomorrow. Timmy Brown made All-American this year, and that was one of his goals. I would hope he set one of his goals, of course, to win the Heisman Award next year. But that can only be possible when we win together as a team. But you get people to set individual goals of where we want to go and understand you're going to get knocked down and you're going to be discouraged. Anybody that's ever achieved anything in this world, you, anybody else, has had to get up off the ground in order to do it. Who said life's fair? We had an awful lot of things go against us this year, but that's just the way it is. You know, they had a horse race of quite a few years ago of 1.25 miles, and I think if you take a pencil and put the statistics to a 1.25 mile race, it comes out to something like 71,260 inches. And Nashua won the race by an inch. But that's all that really matters, is whether you win or whether you lose. Nobody's interested in excuses. The only ultimate thing is, did we succeed or did we fail? Then the question comes down to, can you live with losing? The horse that finished fourth finished 16 inches back. Now you want to talk about justice, try this one. The winning jockey on Nashua got $30,000. The jockey that finished 16 inches back on a 71,260-inch race got $40 for riding the mount. I felt like that guy an awful lot of times this year. But that's the difference. I loved what John F. Kennedy said when they asked him if he would accept the vice presidency of the United States because Young is a Catholic. And he said no. He said once you accept second place when first is available, you have a tendency to do it the rest of your life. I don't ask our athletes how many of them want to win. The question I ask, can you live with losing? Can you live with failure? Can you live with mediocrity? Are you willing to get up off the ground when things don't go well? Are you willing to persevere despite all obstacles? We had more adversity than I've ever seen one football team handle, but I will say this, they got up off the ground and they will be successful because they refuse to wallow in self-pity. To me, self-pity is absolutely self-destruction. The minute something goes wrong, everybody says, oh, I didn't think this would work out. Boy, I want to tell you, and there's a tendency to get self-pity because we had some things happen to us this year that were totally unfair and totally unrealistic. Now, you can either complain about them or you can make up your mind to get it straight. See, we have a lot of powers in this world. We have the power to think, to love, to create, to imagine, to plan, to choose. The greatest power we have is that last one, the power to choose. We can choose whether we're going to act or procrastinate, believe or doubt, pray or curse, help or heal. But we also choose whether we're going to succeed or whether we're going to fail. Whether we're going to help or whether we're going to hinder, that is our choice. And we are where we are today because of the choices we make. You're sitting here today in a beautiful environment, very, very successful, in a wonderful company with Southern Bell. You've risen to the top of your chosen profession. That's a great tribute. But what are you going to do now? After we lost a heartbreaker, the thing we'd always say, what are we going to do now? That's a big question. What are we going to do now? Because it evaluates the past and it focuses on the future. Sure, anybody can play when the TV lights are on, the crowd's cheering, the band's playing, and you're up by 30. But what are you going to do when you're in the fourth quarter and you're down by 12? What are you going to do now? I know you happen to Western Southern Cal game, we could talk about Penn State, Michigan are all basically followed the same pattern except one thing. The field goal at the end of the game went through the uprights rather than off to the side. It's about the only difference between the games. I understand CBS missed the TV, and I told Mr. Skinner, I said, well, if somebody was going to miss that field goal, I'm glad it was CBS and not our kicker, because But that was an unbelievable game. We started off in the second half. We come out, we fumble the football and hold them to a field goal. And then we drive down, score a field goal, and then they drive back down and score a touchdown, and we drive back down, score a touchdown. Each time we're going from 17 down to 10 down, and finally we hold them, force them to punt, and lo and behold, the most brilliant individual on our football team roughed the kicker, my son. I really wished I could have left him stay at our house anymore, but he goes in and he roughs the kicker to keep a drive live, and next thing you know, we're down 37-20. And the question we kind of motivated, what are we going to do now? We're going to answer the challenge. We took it, we drove back down. They drive down. What are you going to do now? That is a key phrase in getting up off the ground and overcoming perseverance. I don't remember what stories I've told you before. There were so many of them. I hope I don't repeat one of them. But it's like in my hometown of East Little, Ohio, where the oil well caught on fire. And did I tell this one before? Where the oil well caught on fire, and the guy put out a call and asked for anybody to come to try to extinguish that oil well fire. They came from all the big cities around East Liverpool. Wellsville, Chester, Newell, Dillonville, and Sellersville. There wasn't a single fire truck that could get within 400 yards of the fire because the fire was burning out of control and the heat was so intense. But Calcutta Township had a volunteer fire department. It had one fire truck, one ladder, 2 buckets of water, 3 buckets of sand, and a blanket. And they came down that hill, and they got within 400 yards of the fire, where all the other fire trucks had stopped because the heat was so intense, but they didn't. They didn't stop. They got right up on top of that fire. They jumped out of that fire truck, threw on the 2 buckets of water, the 3 buckets of sand, took the blanket, and beat the fire out. The owner of the oil well was so impressed. He said, boy, what a great display of courage. He said, you win the $3,000 reward for putting the fire out. He said, what are you going to do with it? The guy said, the first thing I'm going to do is get those brakes fixed on that truck. Well, we find ourselves in that same situation so many times, that how did I get here and what am I going to do about it? But I firmly believe is the ability as leaders. You and I have got to be able to get up off the ground, because if we don't get up off the ground, we cannot provide the proper leadership that it absolutely takes in order to be successful. Now, once you set your objective, and our objective is to win the national championship. I loved your objective about helping a customer get what they want. Go through the annual report and just time after time, and I happened to outline it last night, just time after time, everything they talk about in the annual report. They talk about what they're doing to help the customer. That's what the thing goes through. You can see it outlined there. Our commitment to become even more customer-oriented by combining our century-old tradition of dependable personal service of helping the customer get what they want. Everything goes through to helping the customer get what they want, and that's something I learned in 1963, as I told you. I sold cemetery plots. You know, I had to have a job in the summer. It was a 9-month-year job. I was at William & Mary. We could, you know, William & Mary, we could never beat the Naval Academy. That's why I had to work 3 months out of the year. It was a 9-month-year job. Why couldn't we beat the Naval Academy? We would get that mental block. Can't do this. I don't know if you've ever been in Victory Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland, a beautiful stadium, double-deck stadium. On the balcony of the second tier in big bold letters, they got the words, Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal, Saipan, Baton. One of the players looking around and said, man, we can't beat these guys. I said, what do you mean we can't beat them? He said, well, look at the schedule they play. He said, you know, you get that mental block about, hey, we can't do this, do that. But anyway, I was at William & Mary, and I came home and said, wife, I got a job. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to sell cemetery plots. Well, she said, you won't sell anything. Well, that motivated me. That summer, I sold more than anybody. I sold our car, our stereo, our TV, our radio. but I never yet to sell a single cemetery plot. But they sent me to Richmond, Virginia. It's a 2-day school. I've told you this story before, but it's true. And they said, you don't sell anything, you help people get what they want. You help the customer get what they want. Why, if you had tremendous growth, you've helped people get what they want better than the competition. And sometimes we become awed and intimidated by our competition. But that's still what it comes down to. The people become awed by competition are the ones that set their standards too low. Everybody talks about how difficult our schedule is. Wow. Michigan, Penn State, LSU, Miami of Florida, goes on and on. Somebody said, how'd you sleep when you look at that schedule? I said, like a baby. I wake up every 2 hours and cry. I think, good Lord, no. But when you look at that schedule, sure, it looks difficult. But that's only because we haven't set our standards high enough. You don't worry about competition unless your standards are not higher than the opposition. If you set a standard of excellence, a standard of acceptance, higher than the opposition, then the competition doesn't really bother you. As I said before, you know, you're going to be up, you're going to be down. When we beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, they made a commemorative stamp honoring Lou Holtz. Put my picture on it. And after we lost to Texas, they had to do away with the stamp because people kept spitting on the wrong side of it. You know, you understand that, and that's all part of life. But it's you have a faith and a belief, and you have a goal of where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Now, to me, once you get the goals, you have the objective, you know where you want to go. Now it's people. It's people based on fundamentals. I can't emphasize how important fundamentals are. I won't tell you a variety of different stories because I want to leave time to have a question and answer period after this. But you cannot win, you cannot be successful if you aren't fundamentally sound. You have fundamentals in your business, which are very, very important, I'm sure. Would that be correct, Frank? They're fundamentals, and the better you operate with the fundamentals, the more successful you'll be. The same thing's true in football. The better we block, the better we tackle, the better chance we have to be successful, because without fundamentals, you don't have a chance. Fundamentals are basically the foundation we try to build on, and then it takes effort and it takes work, which you all know. Being away from home is not easy for you. Being away from home, for me, is not very easy either. But it comes down to this question: we want to win, and we're going to do what it takes in order to be successful. And not because somebody's going to give me money, not because somebody's going to say a nice thing, not because you're going to have your picture in the paper, not because you're going to be recognized, but you're going to go do what it takes, because right here, right deep down inside, you want the good feeling that you know something about yourself. You met a challenge and you accepted it. People that wants to achieve things because they're going to be recognized or because they're going to get something else isn't the proper way. And that's the guy that when things really get tough is going to bail out. And we've lost some tough games. But we don't want to win because we're going to be recognized or because we're going to get something special. We want to win because right down in here, we like the feeling of knowing something about ourselves. That you look at a challenge, you meet a challenge, and you accept that challenge. And you're not born winners, and you aren't born losers. You pick up a newspaper, read where mother gave birth to sons or daughters. But you never read where mother gave birth to a winner, a lawyer, a doctor. But yet you read in that same paper where those people have died. A lawyer died, a doctor died, a coach died. What's the difference is we make ourselves out to be whatever we want to be during that life. And we can make up our mind we're going to be winners or we're going to be successful, and that's the same thing with the people we deal with. Now, dealing with people with a good self-image is important that we have. But I want to give you just basically 3 simple little rules that I'll guarantee you creates teamwork, creates success. There's no doubt in my mind. Every place we've ever been, these are the basic principles that we try to live by, and I believe in them more strongly today than ever before. You've got to have fundamentals, you've got to work, and you've got to have a good self-image to lead other people. Those things are absolute necessities. But I know you people haven't because you've been successful. But let me give you 3 simple little rules that I'll guarantee will provide teamwork to the utmost degree over a period of time. Rule number 1, do what's right. Just do what's right. Not real complicated. You know the difference between right and wrong? Do what's right, avoid what's wrong. And if you don't know the difference, get out the Bible. But you got to do what's right. You do what's right, you got a chance. If you don't do what's right, you have no chance. Rule number 2 we have on our football team, we only have 3 of them, is do the best you can. I'm not going to accept mediocrity. I think the greatest disservice we do to people is when we accept mediocrity if they're capable of doing better. I'm not asking my child to be an A student if C is the best or